Hello, everyone. So we hope you're all doing fine in this difficult pandemic situation. Please do care of yourself and the ones surrounding you. So first of all, for the ones who do not know us yet and are watching this live video, I'm Elisabeth Bigan, the current Secretary General of JEE Enterprise Europe for the term 2019-2020. The organization was formerly known as JEE, so the General Association for Development in Europe, and founded by 6 countries in 1992. With 3 other members of JEE Executive Board, we took a gap year in our studies to live and work together full-time to co-represent, integrate, and support a network of 30,000 students in 14 European countries. If you don't know yet the JEE concept, so General Enterprise is a non-profit organization formed and managed exclusively by university students, which provides services for companies, institutions, and individuals. They are similar to real companies with the main goal of enhancing the learning of their members through practical experiences. As European youth NGOs, our mission is to boost the development of this General Enterprise network, empowering students capable and committed to generate a relevant impact in 2 different levels, in academia, the business world, and in society. So one of the goals from our network strategy for 2021 is to enhance the junior entrepreneur experience so we can increase our visibility towards the market to acquire even more projects opportunities. This is one of the reasons why we decided to launch the Success Stories some years ago. These alumni are former junior entrepreneurs, and they can easily relate to our experience in the academia world and bridge us even closer to the business world. We are glad to welcome all of you today in this live session to hear more about our alumni success stories. And this is a new format we try to implement this year to make it more interactive, and we hope you will enjoy it. I will now let the floor to our JEE alumni manager, Margarida Bento, who is working remotely for us from Portugal since the beginning of the year to coordinate this program. I am letting you now, Margarida, introducing our first alumni from this series of success stories interview.
Hello everyone, I'm glad to be here today with Matthieu Delage. Matthieu, welcome to this live session. You are a JEE alumni and a JADUS, which means you were part of JEE Executive Board some years ago. You studied translation and cross-cultural communication in Paris. You were also the president of JEUR in 2011-2012, when the JEE was still very new. Then, Matthieu, you work in public affairs for 6 months in JEE House before you turn as president of the organization. The JEE experience, more than anything, taught you some skills that you could apply in any sector, right? In 2016, you moved to Madrid to pursue your real dream, becoming a professional musician. You created a guitar school, which today has close to 50 committed students, and your goal for the future is to inspire as many people as possible through your music and teaching, and to show them that they can live their musical dreams too, related with the things that they really want to do in their lives.
Exactly. Thanks for the presentation.
Okay, so first we'll have some questions for our guest about his past experience in the network, his current position, and his future prospections. Then I will give him the floor for a little training on how to build a JEE on a solid ground, and finally we keep some time in the end for a Q&A session where you can ask Matthieu all the questions that you want. Ready to start, Matthieu?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's start. Okay, the first question is, how did you grow inside the network?
Okay, so I'm going to try to sum that up. I would say that you can grow professionally, you can grow in terms of like your attitude or your knowledge or your skills maybe. And I think the network really taught me a lot about the right attitude to have and soft skills. I would say skills that are not specific to one sector, but related more to business in general, working in teams, being self-reliant, thinking strategically and at the same time not forgetting details. That's really something that I developed a lot. I would say the biggest one is self-motivation, and also the other biggest one is communicating with other cultures, because as you said, I studied cross-cultural communication, and I thought I knew about cross-cultural communication until I arrived to the JEE executive board, and I realized how you might think things are common sense, but they are not. And now that I'm working in Spain, I have to adapt these things which I thought were common sense, because in France maybe, or where I grew up, it was common sense, but really they're not. So I learned a lot about how to communicate to other people, with other people, and relate to them.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, what motivated you?
A lot of things, but the biggest one, actually, I had a really hard personal challenges during my time, and the thing that didn't make me quit, there's a single thing that didn't make me quit and kept me pushing. That's what I would like to focus on, because I remember this is what kept me going during that time. It was all the public affairs work that I was doing in JEE. So right now I'm talking about my JEE experience, right? In the expo, the executive board, it was seeing that we could change the education system in Europe, like seeing that I was literally sitting at a table with other people and representing a lot of young people in Europe to speak about what we do in the junior enterprise and how that impacts people's learning and employability and preparation for creating a company or everything like this. We have this outdated education system, and the European Commission and the institutions, when I was in JEE, were starting to push for what they call like entrepreneurship education. And for me, it was so important, because I think education and entrepreneurship are at the root of a lot of society's mechanisms and problems. So I remember this was the absolute single biggest thing. And for my junior enterprise experience, it was because I never was really driven by anything before. I mean, I had dreams, but I was not day-to-day being really driven. And seeing that suddenly I could do something and I had responsibilities, it was life-changing for me.
Yeah. Thank you for your answer. The next question is, what is the best memory from your junior entrepreneur's journey?
Wow, so difficult. Okay, I'm going to pick one. The first one that came to mind was Junior Enterprise World Conference 2012 in Brazil. It was incredible to see 2,000 junior entrepreneurs at the same time, and they were so focused on social impact, which is really important to me, and that was incredible. And then there are a lot of, wow, I would pick another one. I can only get one. I have time for a second one. Second one would be some of the moments in the Jade House with the team, like the laughs we had. So these are like private jokes, I guess, but this like bonding with the team members in Jade House. And in my junior enterprise experience, when I was in the junior enterprise, I would say it's when we sort of reviewed the results that we achieved in that year, and it was like really good results that we achieved together as a team, and that was significant for me too.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
The next question is, what are the challenges you faced, the biggest ones?
Yeah, well, as I said, like, I think the biggest one would be like that personal family challenge that almost got me to quit during the JEE time. But in terms of like the work itself, it was, I would say, how to say, being an example myself, because since I'm far from perfect. Suddenly I realized, wow, I'm showing this example and all these things that I'm not doing well for myself. I can't expect other people to do it. And I wasn't perfect at all. Even after realizing that, I kept like being too, lack of focus sometimes, or getting too excited about something and forgetting about the basic things. You know, like we all have our flaws, and it was like highlighted because now I was the leader of something, so I wanted people to do things, but I was like, I need to myself grow into a better professional. I think that was the single thing that was like most challenging, and I loved it at the same time because it pushed me to get better. Yeah. And that's why I'm perfect today. I'm just kidding.
Okay. What is the biggest lesson that you learned?
Okay. I'm gonna try not to repeat myself, but like really it comes down to like common sense doesn't exist. But that I already said, like what you think is common sense, it's not common sense. And you can, if you really, really, really believe in something, you can make things work in a way that you never thought were possible. If you're really passionate about this thing, that will push you through anything. I kind of knew it theoretically because that's, you know, you open your Facebook and people speak about that all the time, but it's kind of like integrating the experience that it actually is possible for me. Yeah.
I think it's a great lesson, in fact. Okay, now we are going to discuss about your current position, okay? So yeah. The first question that I have for you is, what are the main differences that you notice between academia and business world?
Business world is real life, I would say. I was fortunate enough to be in a university where there was some preparation for the business world. They had started to integrate that. Plus, I had the junior enterprise experience, so it wasn't that much of, I mean, I was really prepared. But if I hadn't had that, people don't realize how important human relationships are in work, I think. You know, it's not about numbers, it's not about concepts or the product or whatever. That is important, but really it's really about people. Like maybe we'll talk about that later, but I'm not in the business of teaching guitar. I'm in the business of empowering people. That's why people are coming to me, right? And I usually have colleagues who say I don't teach guitar, I teach people, right? And when I was in JEE, people kept saying this, it's about people. And I was like, no, it's about processes. And I was like, okay, well, it is about processes, but it's also about people. And a lot of people in the academia world, I mean, at least at the time that I was at university, were a little bit disconnected from how human relationships, interactions work in the business world. I mean, I'm sure they had interactions with other human beings. I mean, some of my teachers had interactions with other human beings in their personal life. But it's how you can be challenged on a human level when you're trying to achieve something together through projects and all these things, right? And this is what you get in the junior enterprise experience, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm trying to be synthetic. Of course, I could go on about it for now. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. The next question is, you created your own company. How did it happen? Talk us a little bit about it, please.
Okay. So I studied translation, right? So after university, I started, the junior enterprise experience was so intense that I needed to do something else. I moved to Australia, a little bit far, and I was doing backpacking jobs, the typical like fruit picking in farms or door knocking. And in parallel, one day my father told me, "Hey, didn't you study translation?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's true." Okay, so I became a freelance translator, because I could work as a freelance translator while being in my camper van and traveling around, and that was really cool. But I was missing face-to-face human interaction in this translation work, which I loved. By the way, I loved the work, but I couldn't see the people. I couldn't see the impact, the direct impact I was having on the people, because there was so many like ombudsmen, like intermediaries in between. and I never met the people I was actually helping sometimes. So, and my real dream was music. I just didn't think I could do that full time. So I had a mentor at the time, and I started getting to a music career mentoring program, and then I realized, okay, I still don't believe that I can do music full time, but apparently there's this teaching mentoring program, and maybe I could become a teacher for a start. That seemed more achievable for me as a stable thing, right? So I moved to Madrid. Tell me if we get out of time here, because this is, I mean, I'm trying not to make it long.
You can continue. It's okay. It's okay.
I moved to Madrid, and why did I move to Madrid? Okay, because I went to Brazil. After Australia, I went to South America for like 6 weeks, and I went to Brazil, and I was working from Argentina, from Brazil. I was working from there, and I loved it. And I was like, I want to live in a Latin country. So I was like, okay, I either move to London or I either move to, maybe I'm going to move to Brazil. And then I realized it was going to be a bit complicated to move to Brazil, so I chose Madrid because I love the city. Also, I play Spanish guitar, so it sounded great to be able to be in this place. And I created the school. I arrived there, and I was still translating. And for the first few months, I was scared to death to like promote myself and to get actual prospects. So I started that in January, and I was just like, like planning things. Yeah, I'm building my website. It's still not good enough. Like, I was really scared. That's what it was, Yeah, no, I need just a little bit more. I'm going to tweak this and all these things. And it went on for months and months and months. And that's what happens in my experience when you create an activity. It was the same for me when I started my translation activity. You're in your bubble because nobody knows about you. Nobody cares that you created a company because nobody knows about it, and you're not helping anyone. Nobody has any expectations of you, which was really different from when I was in the Junior Enterprise Network, because people had expectations of me. That's what motivated me. So nobody expected. People already had their own guitar teachers and didn't know about me. And then one day this friend just said, okay, I have this friend who has this friend who needs guitar lessons, and I had my first students. And I'm so thankful, so grateful for this guy to have started lessons for me, because he probably doesn't realize it, but he started this snowball thing. Then I got a second student, and I still, for a few months, not good enough, maybe for another few months. And then my mentor massively kicked my ass. And then I went to a business seminar, and they kicked my ass even more. And then I said, okay. And then I got actually referenced on Google. And of course, that snowballed the whole thing because people could find me. Yeah, to summarize it, that's.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. The next question is, what drives you the most in your work?
Contribution. The same thing that was driving me. It's the same thing as what I was doing in JEE. It's education, empowering people, and showing people they can be creative. Except it's not business, it's music, right? So showing people that this thing about I'm not creative is scientifically inaccurate. I mean, this is just not how human beings are born. They're born creative. They just learn how not to be creative. And then they are afraid to start their own business or to create art, right? That is so amazing for me. And at the moment, I mean, I'm starting to work on more intensely. Actually, right now, today, I have a meeting to speak about how I can help in a more structured way students who have a real concrete musical dream to really make it happen. It's so similar to what I was doing in the Junior Enterprise Network in a way. It's really like seeing people's potential being developed, and people who are like 15-year-old and still believe that they can be a professional musician, so they really go for it, or people who are like 55-year-old and for 40 years they've been dreaming of starting to play music and they never thought they could. And they are so happy that they can like get on stage and play in front of 200 people at our concert school, or even just to play a song. They're so happy. And some of them, they thought they could never do anything significant with music. And then they turn 55, they start lessons, and after 2 years, they're creating like actual beautiful music that I will listen to. I'm not even kidding. I have this student, I think about him all the time. Like, when I think like, okay, like how amazing it is that this guy is now creating this beautiful music. So I get the benefits of listening to his music, which I love. He's only showing it to me so far because, you know, he's still afraid of like finishing the stuff and you know, all these things. But it's so, I visualize my students' success all the time. I think that's so key. I don't see myself as a guitar teacher. Okay, you have to stop me because now I'm getting back. That's it. I see myself as a coach and an empowerer of people. That's what drives me.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure if it's still streaming.
Oh,
Margarida, it's still streaming.
Yeah. Sorry about that. My internet connection. Okay, can you see the presentation?
No, not yet.
Okay. Maybe it's better. Okay. And now it's not okay.
No.
Okay, maybe it's better. Okay, just a second.
But it's kind of weird because on the live we can still see.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening.
I guess it's fine. We can just continue. Like if participants can just see.
Okay. I will continue ask you the questions. Okay.
So I was saying it might sound weird that I mentioned the half marathon thing, but you know, I was really, I don't know, I just wanted to mention it. I was really bad at sports when I was a kid, and for me it was nothing to do with music, maybe off topic. Anyway, that's where we were.
Okay, so the next question is, what were the mistakes that you learned What were the mistakes that you learned from in your career?
Okay, how many hours you got? Okay, mistake that I'm still making to an extent, and I'm still trying to get better. The mistake is to apply my own filter of beliefs and prejudice to what I think people need or want or think, right? And that's so important when you're coaching or mentoring or teaching people or leading people in a team. Like I think that person needs this, but really I'm just focused on myself, on my own need. And I still do this all the time, to be honest. I am sure we all do sometimes. You're like, you're pretending you want to help someone, but really you have your own fear of like, whatever, like losing that person, or that the project is not going to finish on time. So you're pressuring because it makes you feel insecure that your project is not going to finish. So you're pressuring your team member, and your team member or your student or whoever has a negative reaction, and you're wondering why, you know. And then what do? Blame the person. That's the second mistake. I still do it. Like I'm like, wow, why does that person? So I'm trying to like learn how to like back down and be like, okay, how can I first seek to understand, then be understood? That's from a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I remember that sentence always, like, first seek to understand, right? So what's going on with the person in front? And how can I really like appreciate the person's situation, what they need, and like seriously help them? And since I've started making that change, I see it's so much easier to actually just like either like sell. You don't even need to think about it as selling. By the way, teaching is similar to sales because you need to convince people to do things. That if they want to get better at guitar, you need to convince them that they need to be doing it. So you got to put yourself in their heads, right? So if you're just like thinking, I just want my students like to be like machines and practice like crazy, or I just want my team members to be like doing this and doing that all the time and all these things, you're not putting yourselves in in their shoes, in their position. And then, oh, surprise, people are not doing things, and then you blame them. I mean, you, not you, Margarita, you, me, like everybody in general, right? That's so important to me.
Okay. The next question is related. The next questions are related with your future perspectives. Okay. So the first question is, what are you planning to do in the next few years?
I'm going to try balancing creating. My vision is to create the best school in the area. I mean, I'm not saying in the sense of like comparing myself to other school or like bringing all this down. Like the best possible, the best that I can do, the best school possible with a lot of students, like 200 students or 300 students. And really help them individually, like just not have like just numbers, you know, like really help people, and in parallel promote my music, okay, which I started like really late doing. I mean, you know, and maybe having a family at the same time. So and remaining mentally healthy. That's it.
Okay. Thank you for your answer. The next question is, did your JEE experience make you reevaluate what you want to do in the future?
I used the JEE experience as a way of having something I was passionate about without really directly straight away going to what I really want to do, which was music, because I really didn't believe I could do that full time. So it was like a stepping stone for me, like a step, right? And so it made me believe that I had, it helped me gain the attitudes and some skills and some beliefs to actually go and get the help I needed to really start making music, which happened when I started having music mentoring and all these things, right? For artists and for teachers and everything. So I guess that, you know, that didn't make me reevaluate. It momentarily made me reevaluate because I thought I wanted to just stay in JEE executive board forever. I considered the opportunity, you know, because I was like, I don't want the team to change every year. But you know, that was a bit excessive.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, would you recommend Junior Enterprises services to your own network?
Yeah, actually I do it. I recommended to my cousin, Junior, my ex-Junior Enterprise, about 2 months ago. So what I told her is, if you want, if you're not in a hurry, because sometimes Junior Enterprises can take a little bit more time to deliver the service. If you're not in a hurry, go for them. Like it might be cheaper and you get the benefit of like having people who really want to. I did this a lot. I realized people who really want to prove themselves as translators, right? I mean, the young people who are students and they really want to do a great job. And by the way, like in the music industry, it's the same. You can get the best producer in the industry, but if you're not Ed Sheeran or some big name, maybe he doesn't care about the project. So maybe he's not going to put in the effort. And in the end, I have colleagues who have like gone with some of the best producers in the industry, and it's like, yeah, you can tell they didn't really put their heart into it. Whereas junior entrepreneurs, at least many of the ones I've known, and most of them, probably almost all of them, they really put their heart into this project, right? And I said, if you're a bit more in a hurry, well, I gave another alternative, you know, like.
Okay. The next question is, how do you plan to give back to the
by doing this interview, I guess. I mean, I try to. It's not planned to do. It's something I've tried to do ever since I left. I think I was, I don't know, 1 or several years in different like alumni boards in my junior enterprise and in JEE. I'm definitely less involved than I used to be because, you know, like it gets further, but it really helps to have this type of contact, like with the things we're doing today. And I tried, for example, Elizabeth, who is here in this call, I tried to help out to when she had questions about entering the JEE executive board, and it worked.
Yes, thank you.
And I haven't thought further of like those. And then a book called 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. And it's so amazing, this book, because he's talking about how artificial intelligence and automatization in the labor market is transforming society in a way that in 10 years, you have no idea how the labor market is going to be like. Compare this to like 50 years ago. 50 years ago, you knew more or less how things were going to be. Like, what you're going to like, be a translator or, okay, sure, maybe in 10 years, like translation. I mean, translation is a little bit harder to automate with machine translation, right? The more creative a job, the harder it is to maybe automate it. But even music, like they create music right now. Let's talk about music. They create music and they ask people who created that, the machine or a human? And people can't tell. It's crazy. So what are the things that differentiate you from artificial intelligence, from a machine? What are the things that a machine can't do? A lot of things are the things you develop subconsciously or consciously in the junior enterprise experience.
Okay, this was the last question. Now I invite you to start sharing some tips and tricks related with how to build your JEE in a solid ground. Okay?
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so that's the title of this little presentation I prepared. I'm going to ask you a question for everybody who's watching. Is your junior enterprise or your confederation built on solid ground? And if you already have a business or are planning to have one, exactly the same applies. So don't move yet to the next slide, please, because I want the surprise effect. You know, I planned it out. But okay, think about it. Like, is it solid, and why? How do you know? Right now, we are going through probably in some countries what could be the worst recession of all time. Is it solid? Are you okay? Like, and our school, our business at the moment, and I'm not saying this at all like to brag or whatever, not at all, but it's completely okay, more than ever. Yes, it's because of the industry, because we keep doing classes like online. Of course, like some industries, it's way harder, but there are other reasons to why the business is there. It's completely fine. I mean, it's completely fine. The business, the situation is not fine. I'm in Madrid. You've probably seen how things are going. It's one of the worst places in the world right now for coronavirus, right? So, okay, how do you make sure it's fine? What are the elements other than the fact that, okay, it's a good sector to be in? Because, you know, enterprises are in different sectors. Maybe your sector has been affected more than others. Of course, if you're in the IT or translation sector, it's not the same as if you provide things that, you know, have been way more affected by the quarantine thing. Okay, I'm taking the example of the quarantine for you to really think about it right now because it's so strong at the moment, but this applies all the time and it applies in future recessions, economic recessions too. And by the way, that will happen. It's a cycle, right? So you gotta be prepared for that. And also the additional thing for junior enterprise or a confederation is that your team changes all the time. So even when you don't have a recession, we see junior enterprises or confederation going like this all the time. Okay, so what is it that makes your junior enterprise or your confederation solid? You can move to the next slide, please. So I think you know the story of the three little pigs. So once upon a time, three little pigs, a bad wolf, and so he's, you know, you can already see, if you remember the story, that the three little pigs, they were building different houses, and one of them is maybe a little bit harder to build and requires maybe more sacrifice or thinking or planning in the short term, but this house is still standing. It's the house made of stone. And then the other pig, by the way, I don't like this image because in a way, because I chose it, but I don't like it because really the three pigs should not be in the house. Like, how are they like in the house of the other pig. He's really generous. He allowed them in. But really what happened to the other two little pigs is that they got their house destroyed because the wolf was blowing on it. So what's the wolf? What's the wolf? It's any adversity that could occur naturally in the cycle of a junior enterprise or confederation, or could occur with recessions. The wolf could be a pandemic. The wolf could be a depression, a recession. The wolf could be changing your team and the whole team changes and, oh, your confederation or your junior enterprise is now the one in the background. Or it's not completely broken, but it's not as solid. You're not laughing and pulling your tongue at the big bad wolf like the little pigs in the footage. You're scared. You are worried, or you're disappointed because your junior enterprise, your confederation, or your organization, your business is not growing to its full potential. Or you don't even realize. You're just like, yeah, this is the way it is. But really, it could be growing much faster, like if it was not going up and down all the time. So the way I think about it, many of you probably have heard about this concept of representing a junior enterprise as a house, especially if you've been in the French network. At least in the time that I was in, it was a central thing, representing a junior enterprise as a house with different parts, the wall and the foundation, and taking care of it in a balanced way. So today what I would like to do is go a little bit deeper into like what the foundation, of this house is about. In my opinion, it's a way of seeing it. It's not the only way, okay? So let's go to the next one, please. Sorry. This is where we would all like to be. Can you believe like some people are actually living in this type of houses at the moment and we're just stuck at home? Like we would love to be on this type of houses, probably. And you see that there are different pillars. I think they're called pillars or stilts in English, house on stilts. We have a beautiful word for it in French. It's pilotis, right? And these pilotis, these stilts, there are several of them. If you take out one of them, for those of you engineers, you can probably tell me what would happen. I don't know. Maybe you're fine. Maybe you're not. If you take out two of them, I don't know. Three of them. Anyway, you get the point. I have another one on the next slides. You can go to the next slide. Just for a little bit of variety to keep your imagination going. I want these images to really like stick in your brain. This idea that there are different stilts, different pillars that are supporting this beautiful house. And the two houses are really beautiful and they allow you to enjoy the view. But what really happens in a lot of businesses and junior enterprises and confederations is that we have cowboys and cowgirls who are like, okay, I've got 1 year. Amazing. I'm just going to like make this house look so pretty, or I'm going to enjoy the view or whatever. They just focus on that and they completely forget or partly forget about what's underneath, or what they do. And this is what I would like to focus on, at least, especially in the next slides that will come after, is like they focus on some of these stilts, but not all of them. So we already saw that what might happen if you take some of them away. You might be fine, you might not be, and it might crash completely, right? So why is it that people act as like cowboys or cowgirls and they just want, it's because in a junior enterprise or confederation, there is this 1 year thing. It's your experience, your lifetime experience, which, by the way, I completely agree with, and you need to live it to the fullest. I mean, what we talked about before, the experience, right? You don't need to self-sacrifice. But it's not just your experience. It's the experience of many, many generations. I mean, this network has been around for, how much? 53 years. Oh my God, 53 years. Like, okay, like, would it still be standing the way it is if we hadn't taken care a little bit of these, taking care of these stilts that support this foundation? And how much better, bigger, and more amazing in terms of experience could it be if these pillars were stronger? Like imagine the same pillars but just stronger and thicker and really well balanced. You can build the same beautiful house but like way bigger and invite way more people, or you could just like make the house taller, add more floors or whatever. So now if you're a minimalist, maybe you don't care about this, but you know, it's not just about what your experience is, it's about how many people can get this experience and the quality of this experience and how long this house is going to stand. Okay, because you know, I'm not an engineer, but I imagine there's some, you know, after the years, if you don't take care of the foundation of the house, you know, maybe some bad things can happen. Okay. I suggest we talk about what these pillars, what these stilts are. In my opinion, there are many different ways of seeing it, and really it doesn't matter if you think they're different. It's really the whole concept I'd like you to remember. So let's go to the next slide. This is your amazing JEE confederation with a house, and you're focused on getting a good recruitment so that you get good people who will, good people, I don't mean to say like some people are bad, I mean people who are committed and people who will do the work, right? And you should be worried if that's all you focus on, because if you just get the people and nothing else in place, it might work well. Actually, it might still work. Maybe I should have put this pillar in the center of the house, so it can still work. Okay, I don't want to underestimate this part, and that's why I put it first. It's so crucial. You can get actually a lot done just with the right amount of commitment and people who have the right mindset. But you know, it's going to be really hard for them to do big things. So maybe you'll get a smaller house. They'll be able to achieve, but like at a smaller scale, because the rest is missing. What's the rest? Let's go to the next one. Okay, you are not going to jail because you're taking care of the legal part and the finance part, and you have enough money to cover your basic costs. You can do a lot with very, very, very little overhead costs. So I'm not saying you need to like make lots of money or whatever, but we all know that junior enterprises, they tend to reinvest their turnover into what? Into people which have been recruited. So that fuels the other stilt, the other pillar. And that's where I'm going at. This presentation is about the interconnection between the different pillars that support your house and how one reinforces the other. This is so, so, so important. This is something I'm hoping you probably haven't heard about before in such levels of details. I'm hoping that's new for you. And if it's not, I'm hoping it can make you think deeper about it, because it is so key that it deserves rethinking about it. You're never done thinking deeply about this concept, right? It never ends. I do it for my business as well. Anyway, keep going to the next slide, please, Margarita. IT. Okay, IT. I don't mean to say you need to have like the best IT systems in place, although they do make your work easier. I mean, look, we are doing this amazing presentation because Jade had the amazing idea of using YouTube Stream, which I hardly knew about. I mean, I know about it, but I was like, oh, that's a good idea, right? That's a good IT process. And so far it's been working, right? And so it makes work easier, but there are other things with IT, which is backing up files and having good systems for that. What happens if you recruit the best people ever, you're not going to jail, you have enough money to cover your basic costs, and you lose all your data? How efficient is your organization going to be? Believe it or not, I know cases in the network this has happened, and it sucks, right? Today, I was at a training and I lost half an hour of notes on a really important training about recovering from a recession. I was pissed off. Imagine losing 20 years or 30 years or 40 years of file. That might seem obvious, but just gonna make sure it's taken care of. It's not complicated. None of it is really complicated once it's in place. Cool, we can go to the next one. Oh, by the way, the smiley is getting better now, right? Because we're getting a little bit more secure. Yeah, I forgot to mention. Handover. What is handover? Okay, if you just ask this question, we've got a problem. I'm not going to tell you what handover is about. Handover is about training people, right? And it's about making sure the knowledge is appropriately transmitted to these amazing people that you've recruited who are not going to jail, who are who have enough money to do their work and who have efficient IT processes to make things work, right? I mean, you just gotta explain them how things are going, and they need to be doing it in practice for a certain time with you. The same reason why like teaching guitar doesn't work just by, you know, telling people about it. There needs to be some learning by doing. I mean, that's what the JEur Enterprise concept is about. How are we doing with time, Margarita?
Sorry?
How are we doing with time?
It's okay, it's okay. Is everything going as planned?
I surprised myself. Okay, so cool. Handover is also about handing over the organizational culture. And I don't mean brainwashing people. People can like think in different ways. I mean, that's what cross-cultural work is about. But there needs to be a certain set of values that unite people, and maybe some sort of like way of strategizing things so that they are not starting to be like cowboys and cowgirls who mess up the whole house just because they wanted to feel like, oh, I did something shiny, right? I mean, I've seen that so much in the network, you wouldn't believe. Yeah, just let them swim. Really? It's not about just you, right? I think. It's my opinion. You might have a different opinion. Handover. Cool. There are many different ways to do handover. I think a lot of JEur enterprises or confederations do that for 2 months and everything. Like, none of these pillars are supposed to be like the best process ever. They're supposed to exist, to be decent, to be at a level that allows them to be interconnected with each other and support each other and reinforce each other. And they need to be transmitted one year after the other. I mean, that's why I'm talking about recruitment and handover and all these things, because if not, it just goes down the toilet. I've seen teams in the JEur Enterprise Network who just focus on 3 or 4 or 5 areas. By the way, as you can tell, there are 6, and you can deduct that we have 2 more. And then they miss one, and this one area, it just messes up everything. And I definitely did it also myself. Right. Cool. The order of importance is something you might find different in your own context, or, you know, I don't have like the perfect order for that. It's an order that seemed to me more or less an order of importance. Okay. Cool. Let's go to the next one. Process mapping. Why have I differentiated process mapping from handover? Because I wanted to focus more handover on like this period where during 2 months or whatever, you are doing the work together, right? And you're getting the experience and you're transmitting the mindset and the key principles. And the process mapping is it makes your work more efficient. I mean, it's easier. We do it in our own business too. Even myself, I'm not really like training myself, because I'm building the business as I am. I mean, I'm me, and I don't need like you get what I mean. I mean, you don't really train yourself, but really you can train yourself, because you can structure things by mapping your processes in a way that gets you to see what you're doing and really understand and optimize things, right? You don't need to get super obsessive about process mapping or finding the best process mapping tool. It's not about having the best process, it's about having something. And if you make it too complicated, by the way, it's not going to work. So maybe you can imagine process mapping being a pillar like this. How is the house now? It might go like this, right? Or maybe not, it depends on the context. But my point is that if you overdo it, sometimes people are like, oh my God, like we are using 723 IT programs that guarantee that nothing will be left aside. That's ridiculous, right? Because then how you hand that over, right? How the people going to use that, right? Oh, we're checking every single day the law to make sure we're up to date with legal standards of our country. Okay, and then have you forgotten about your clients? You know, you need to keep things in balance. Cool. Next one. Please. So alumni management is the last one. So I think on the PowerPoint it got a little bit to the side, but this is the last pillar, and process mapping would be the 5th one. Managing relationships with the alumni, which is what you guys are doing right now. You're leveraging the power of having a network of people who have gone through an experience, have similar values, are passionate about this network, and have accumulated more experience and have had time to think from a distance about their own experience. When you're, especially if you're in JED executive board, you're all the time like this, because it's like coming at you all the time, right, Margarita and Elizabeth? All the time. Like, you don't have much time to sit and reflect, right? So you really need, I think, if you're in business or anything in life, I think you need some sort of mentorship, some sort of people who help you see things from afar. And this is, I was in this training today. This is exactly what my mentor did for me today. He helped me see this recession and this whole pandemic thing from a distance. Everybody's freaking out, you know. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Right now I have to think strategically and not freak out. And it really, really helps, right? And I remember the alumni kept telling me about things from a distance, and I was like, why are they so detached? This matters. Like, kept telling me, stop freaking out, stop being so. I was so always anxious about everything going well. And it's like, imagine, I don't know how old you are, but let's say you're like 20 or 25 and you're talking to someone in your family who's like 10 years old or 12 or 13. Everything seems like a big deal to them, and you're like, yeah. And when you're 60, you're going to look at what seems like a big deal and you're going to be like, yeah. Not because you're like smarter, just because you're not. Yeah, that I think is a big value. That's just one way, but maybe because we might be running out of time, I'm gonna like summarize with this. And this is where you wink, because you're like, haha, I got it, right? You might think there are other areas, okay? You might think they are different for you, but this house with pillars, I think, is absolutely universal to any organization, right? Some people might say it even applies to life in general, but that's not what this topic is. It definitely applies to guitar and music. If you're learning an instrument, you've got to work on your timing. You've got to do it. You've got to do it all the time. I told you so. Okay. That's what I do every week. I remind people of about working on the foundation. Right? Anyway. This was what I wanted you to take away today from this presentation. This is, in a way, the single biggest thing that I've learned about business and about the Junior Enterprise Network from my experience in the network, especially JED. I stayed longer than planned. Instead of staying like for a year, I stayed for almost 2 years in the JED house, because I wanted to make sure this would be more reinforced. And by the way, I'm not the guy who started it. I'm not the one who did it on my own. We had a whole team. I just took part in this thing, and the organization today has improved so much. I keep saying JED, by the way. It's Enterprise Europe. Yeah, you see, like,
it's okay. It's part of this story.
I hope you got something from this and you can apply that to your organization. I would like to suggest one single action you can take right now from this thing. Number one, evaluate what are the areas, what are your skills that support the house and the organization. Which of these pillars are being eaten by these insects in English, you know, the insects that eat wood. In English, it's termites or whatever. Okay, or which one is weak? Which one first you've got to reinforce? Or maybe in another context, you just got to work on another one. Which one do you got to work on? And what are the top 2 or 3 things, or the number one thing that you could be doing right now that is the most impactful and the least complicated to do? Because if you get it started right now, and if it only takes you 2 days to put in place, you start reaping the benefits of this action straight away. Whereas if you start with something that is impactful but will take you a year, you've got to wait a year before you start getting your return on investment. So think about it, start with this area, don't get overwhelmed, just get started would be my advice, and I hope this is helpful to you.
Thank you, Matthieu. I think it was really important to have this small training. It brings a really good inputs to this session. Now we are going to invite the participants to share some questions that might appear during the interview. So you're totally free. We have like a small delay of 30 seconds. So we will wait for their questions, okay?
Yeah, I'll just pour myself some water so I can answer better.
Okay, okay.
Okay, guys, now it's your turn. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us in the chat, and then Margarida will just ask them to Matthieu.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think your presentation was really clear. That's why no one has questions.
That was what I strive for. Yeah.
Actually, I have one question for you, Matthieu. Like maybe the first question is always the toughest one, so we can go. Like, what do you miss the most from JEE or JEE Enterprise Europe House?
Yeah, the experience, the human experience with the team. And we talked about it. We have a WhatsApp group with our team, and we talked about it the other day, about how amazing the experience was, because I'm still getting the kick of like, I'm still doing the same thing as I used to do in the Junior Enterprise Network, but in another area. So I'm still getting this kick every day, right? But I'm missing this experience of living in the Jade House. And I'm guessing you guys are too right now with the quarantine. And it's so unbelievable.
Always full of challenges.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wait just one more minute.
Yeah.
We have one comment saying, brilliant, thanks for sharing your story, just to let you know.
Thank you. And I hope you find that applicable, which is the most important, right? While other people are writing their questions, maybe I want to like just address a little bit more like the people watching this, all of you. If you have another question, just let me know and I'll stop. Like these things that I was talking about, I hope it inspired you to do whatever you want to do. And there might be some things right now holding you back. It's really important, I think, to identify what are these things that are holding you back, and seeing them for what they are, and realizing how many things that you're holding yourself back to do, like creating a business or artistically or whatever. Once you've done them, it's like it's fine, you know, you're in it, and it's like, okay, and now you make it work. And even in these times of recession, okay, how to say this in a good way? If you're really getting like a business mentor and really learning about business, a recession, it's really bad that for people, for society. I don't like the fact that we get the recessions and all the consequences, but you also must recognize that it's the absolute best time to do business the smart way. And I don't mean at all like, you know, taking advantage of anyone. That's not what I mean. I mean, if you're in a sector, you can gain market share like so much. It's insane because everybody else is scared to be entrepreneurial or take risks. And many of the things that will get you rewards in terms of business and growth come not just from delivering a better product, that's one thing, not just for the amounts of work that you put, that's another thing, but also from just taking some risk. I said the smart way, okay, please, this is not an invitation to go and do some real stupid things, But there are so many ways to make sure things are risk-free or reduced risk. Okay, and for example, like not investing 100,000 euros from the beginning in your business. If you read the book The Lean Startup, you heard about minimum viable products. You can test your product little by little. You can get things going, and there are many things that are also possible now that people are stuck at home. Okay, and I'm saying all of this from the idea of with the idea of helping people, not like, oh, cool, the world is going bad, I'm going to take advantage of that. No, like, it sucks. It really sucks. Okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to stay here and be scared? Like, who are you helping by just staying here and being scared? And, you know, you're helping Netflix. You're definitely helping Netflix. they are really being or HBO, but like, you can do things in a way that is risk-free or risk-reduced. It's not the 20th century, and not all industry have big overhead costs. A major thing that creates risk is how much you invest into your business. You don't know how the economy is going to be in the next few months. So, okay, of course, investing into like a building, you know, might in some cases be really risky. But if you're doing something online or whatever, like imagine I was like, I'm giving classes. Imagine I was charging for this training, whatever. I'm just taking this as an example. I don't mean at all to say that, like, you know, I'm going to charge Jay or Junior to put Europe or whatever. Imagine I was charging right now. What's the risk for me? I took some of my time and I connected myself to Zoom. And hopefully that is, if you're still here, that is of value to you. So you're delivering value to people. And what do people pay for? Value to them.
Okay, we have two feedbacks. Tiago Quaresma and Ricardo Praça, they appreciate your presentation. I think that we don't have more questions. So Matthieu, thank you so much for this moment. And now I will pass the words to Elizabeth.
Thank you very much.
Just for the closing words, thank you so much to the both of you, for the ones also who are sharing this moment with us by watching this video. Matthieu, we are really grateful that you're still following up on the JEE network after all of these years. We wish you all the best in your professional adventure, and we are looking forward to hearing from you soon again too. To the one who are watching us, we hope you enjoyed this experience together with us, and that you took some great outputs from this live video. I really enjoyed personally the house metaphor that we had from Matthieu. And do not hesitate to contact us if you need anything regarding alumni to alumnimanagement@jeurenterprises.eu. We also have a seasonal newsletter where you can register and join our professional community on LinkedIn. The links are going to be shared in the description, so you have everything there. See you soon in another JEE success stories, and bye-bye.
Bye,
guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.